If there's a program out there that's saying we're just going to take you higher and higher and higher into frequencies, and they're not talking about grounded or we're going to take a break and you're going to go for a walk or we're going to get up and jump around, you're a consenting human, do whatever you want, I would stay clear. Some of the consciousness is humor and not rushing to develop your intuitive abilities because everybody else can see. No, they can't. Everybody else can hear. No, they can't. Everybody else reads oracle cards amazingly. No, they can't. Some might have a skill that you haven't honed yet. Well, hi there. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. We're going to have some fun. Everything's a little serious these days and stressful and tight. It just feels so tight that I thought it's time to do an episode about playing with spirit, laughing with spirit, understanding how playful, goofball-like, and just irreverent a spirit can be. So spirit being your soul, spirit being spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, although a little bit more playful on the reverent side, not irreverent, on up to what we consider source, God, Allah, whomever your belief is. I believe all buses go to the same station. So we're all talking about a similar frequency, energy that we all contribute to. And I have been emphasizing this in my own life about being playful, about doing things that are not the to-do list or just so grown up or so responsible. I know that responsibility and accountability are how we can support our joyfulness, but I also know that there is no true intuitive connection without a little bit of silly. And the reason for that is there's a frequency that happens when we get happy, when we raise our joyful factor. And when we do that, what happens is our own vibrational frequency goes up. It gets giddy. You know what I always think of is why am I going to draw a blank? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when they were in the tube, when he and his grandfather were in the tube, and the only way that they could go up was to burp. And they figured this out, that the more they burped, the higher they could go up in the tube. And the more they laughed, the more air they took in, the more they were burping, the higher they could go up. I've always felt like that was a brilliant reference for raising your frequency. And maybe it's because my inner 12-year-old just thinks bodily functions are funny. I still do at almost 55 years. I don't want to grow up. And that's okay, because I spent so many decades being super serious and super get it done and connect to just the message of what I should be doing rather than what I could be doing or what feels right to me. And as I help people to raise their frequency and enjoy the playfulness of spirit, I think it's important to remind ourselves that in this physical body, yes, we have a brain, beautiful brains that we do have them. And we have a left brain that is very in charge of getting things done, being analytical, and it's beautiful. We need that. We so need that. And our right brain has more of the curiosity. It has more of the playfulness. It also has focused action. So don't get it wrong that if you're in your right brain, you're flighty or that's super artistic. True, but it's not only that. Especially in the United States, we are led to believe that that is less than. I'm not going to go into that. When in fact, if we don't engage and appreciate and activate both hemispheres, we're never going to get the corpus callosum in the middle to connect the dots. We're just not. And that's part of evolution. And I really believe that the spirit world being so playful and fun, and the word intriguing wants to come to mind, so I'm going to use that. The more that we're in that energy and we take it less seriously, the greater the connection to intuitive senses. You've heard me say before, if you've listened to previous episodes, this is your first time here, thank you for joining me. Probably should mention, I'm Vicky, intuitive coach, and all around pursuer of the joy that we can be in physical, just like our soul is so joyful, and a really good cup of coffee, even if it's decaf. I've switched to decaf, people. The people who've been listening for a while, just take a breath and appreciate the fact that this is Vicky on decaf. That's kind of fun, huh? So in this pursuit of joy and being the most reverent and yet light being that I can be, and I mean light in energy as well as light, shining a light and casting that for others to come on in and learn how to be as well. Part of this is for me to help you understand that if you get super serious with your intuition that's already in there, it came in as a result of you choosing to be human again, you're going to block out a lot of the messages, the guidance, the joy, the brilliance that is you. So I'm going to do my best today in this episode to help you connect with your funny bone and for you to allow for playfulness to show up some more. I have always used humor in my life to dissipate a stressful situation. I didn't know that's what I was doing as a kid. I just thought that this is a good place for a laugh and I'll put one in. I don't find myself funny in a prepared way. I'm more of a response or a call and response funny person, I think. So people have said to me before, you need to do stand-up. It wouldn't work for me because that would feel false. It would feel rehearsed. I'm more of a in the moment, bring joy. And I did that as a lot, excuse me, as a kid because my house was so stressful. Now, even though it was stressful and full of just stuff we don't need to go into, my parents were actually really funny people in and of their own right. So when you got them in that energy, everything lightened up and it seemed possible. Everything seemed possible, whatever we were talking about. My mother had more of almost an innocent and then would slide into sarcastic humor. And I used to think that was the best way to go about things. And then I grew up and I realized sarcasm is only hurt being spread around. It is not funny. When you're humorous and when you're in a light frequency and in a spiritual frequency, you are bringing a playfulness, a childlike quality to it. Not childish. Don't mishear me. Childlike, playful, delight at the smallest things. And when I could get my mother there by my own sense of humor, we would have a blast. And with my father, it was more around situational things. Like if he had a tackle shop and I was very good at digging up the night crawlers. So embarrassing to sell worms to your teachers. You think running into them in the grocery store was embarrassing? You should answer the door and sell worms to your teachers so they can go fishing. I'm glad they went fishing. As kids, we were probably a little stressful to them. But my dad, in those moments when we're out there and I'm shining a flashlight and we're digging these things up after dark, those are some memories that I have because I have very little connection with my father, but those are some memories that I have that I can feel warm and fuzzy around. And then unfortunately, once he was in the Alzheimer's experience, we had a blast because I decided I'm just going to join him where he is. And it had a lot to do with my developing my intuition at the time and realizing, well, if I read the energy of him, maybe we don't have to have the fights and maybe there isn't a tug of war when it comes to, getting dressed or eating his lunch or whatever was going on at that time. And it helped me to connect more to my own intuition and my own self when it came to what's in the best interest of this person who I'm trying to help. So the more lighthearted we are and the more humorous we are about intuitive experience, including your development, and I would even say most especially around your development, because I know there's weekend workshops. I know there's week-long retreats that promise at the end you're going to have this great opening. Maybe you will. And all of a sudden you're going to know how you're wired and how to activate, and you've been initiated or can't even remember what it's called, but attuned. Thank you. That was one of my guides that came in with that. It's helpful to have them on board when your own brain skips out on you. So even though you're being attuned, I never want anyone to rush their intuitive development, because it can land you in actually a psychiatric crisis. Because our brains, like I was talking about before, your left brain and your right brain, well, they're still developing. We're still evolving our brain and creating a structure. And there's going to be an episode on that following this one about how we're able to evolve now without croaking. We used to have to croak, come on back, and our brains and our humanity would be evolved. Well, we have the ability to do that now without checking out, kicking the bucket, punching our ticket. But it has to be done through consciousness. And some of the consciousness is humor and not rushing to develop your intuitive abilities because everybody else can see. No, they can't. Everybody else can hear. No, they can't. Everybody else reads oracle cards amazingly. No, they can't. Some might have a skill that you haven't honed yet. I just realized. So if you listened to episodes before, you know I've been volunteering at a horse barn, and how I got in there was they called me and said, would you mind coming in and doing some animal communication? I don't have that on my business card, but because I love my niece so much, I'm like, yeah, that'll be fun. And I did go into it with fun, and it was so much fun. In the 8 months, since 8-9 months, something like that, since I've been volunteering, I just realized the other day that I hear animal in my head, like my thinking thoughts, like when you think, oh, I have to go to the grocery store. That thought that's in there, I did not put together until I was actually shoveling some poo. And I thought, wait a minute, I hear the horses differently than I hear humans when I'm working with them. Intuitively, when I'm working with humans, it's a claircognizance. It's just a knowing I have. It's in there. I know what happened to you at 3 years old, or I know what the best course of action is for you should you decide to take said action. I cannot be in charge of whether you get up off your butt or not. But I'll know that that's the best course of action because I can see your soul blueprint. And then I'll say, does that sound good? If it sounds good, let's create a plan. That's where the coaching comes in, right? So as I'm shoveling, I realized one of the horses there didn't want to talk to me. And he hasn't wanted to for 9 months. And it makes me laugh so hard because he wasn't rude. He was just like, no, I'm not doing that. Fine. We don't have to. Well, in the last couple of visits, he's free roam. Like he's out there in that's not what they call it, rough boarding. Anyway, he lives outside like a horse loves to do. And he called me over and I was like, yeah, can I help you? And he was saying, I need a job. I'm bored. I need a job. What's my job? And I said, I'll take it to the powers that be. I'm actually just here to shovel poop and carry hay and smush on your little noses. So don't worry. His person was already on it, knows that, has been working in getting him a job. But I heard that as if he was standing there talking to me. And again, I don't, when it comes to humans, I just don't hear it. And my point to this story is that I would get on myself about not being clairaudient. I know all the others, I just didn't have clairaudient. So there's a danger in wanting something that isn't there because you can avoid what's already there. And so at some point, a few years ago even, I decided I don't need that. I don't need to actually hear it like a thought inside my head. I worked so hard to get my brain to be quiet and not run away with anxious thoughts or stuff that wasn't even going to happen and creating chaos in my life. I don't need extra voices in there. So I was like, it's fine. I don't need to be clairaudient. And then it takes volunteering, letting it go, and then realizing it's a different frequency. I can hear them like it's a conversation because they operate on a higher frequency than we do. So fascinating. I still can't get my dog to talk to me. She's still like, peace out, Girl Scout, not doing that. We'll give her a little bit more time to adjust. She's starting to learn that she can be a playful pup. She had a pretty rough first 4 years. So with humor comes door that will open, right? A lot of my coaching and intuitive guidance with people comes with humor. That's part of my wiring, but it's also what I know to bust up energy and to bust up doubt. So I don't want you to fake it. I don't want you to act like you're in a humor space when you're not, because that's not going to help anything. But everything is frequency. And the more we raise our frequency to joy, like you can feel the energy around like crankiness or frustration, right? It's like a kind of energy, and all emotions are valid. But can you feel as the energy goes up and we go into joyfulness and we go into playfulness? And we're going to do a short little exercise during this podcast so that you can get a sense of that. But the reason for this is the higher the frequency, the more clear the connection. Now, in order to access those high frequencies, we must be very grounded, which means in your body. It means exercising. It means doing, weighted meditation, which to me is like feeded in what do I see around me, and just looking and really focusing on what I see around me to kind of clear the cobwebs, but not take the frequency too high. It's petting an animal. It's eating good protein. It's making sure you get plenty of water. So think earth elements and they'll ground you, okay? The more grounded we are, the higher we can go. So if there's a program out there that's saying we're just going to take you higher and higher and higher into frequencies, and they're not talking about grounded, or we're going to take a break and you're going to go for a walk, or we're going to get up and jump around, steer clear. You're a consenting human. Do whatever you want. I would stay clear. So the higher the frequency goes, the higher our body feels, like in serotonin and in dopamine, and not have to get it from external sources. You don't have to take the sugar in. You're sweet enough. You can get it from within. Trust me, I say that to myself often enough. And it's working. It's working. The power of our own self-love, the power of our own connection will raise your energy, and it'll also help with that psychological part of us, because we all have an inner critic. We all have a judge that lives in there, or the inner biatch, as I call her. So one of the experiences is the spirit world showing up in a playful way for me, besides the horse thing, is when I first started getting familiar with what is intuition anyway, and how do I connect with this? It seems natural, but it seems weird. It seems scary, all of those things. I was sitting in a finance meeting at the VNA I worked for, giving a report on the AR and, the amount that we had due, all that kind of stuff, and what had happened when I cleaned up collections, because that was fun. It's a clutter clearing. And I looked up, and my supervisor at the time, he's an okay guy, but he wasn't really connected, and we're going to leave it there. So I look up and I see behind him, in my mind, like this whole line of spirit energies. And I'm like, oh, this is not a good time, because I was just learning about it and I didn't really know how to have it sit outside the room when I had to be in my left brain yet. And as I'm looking around, of course, everything is getting really serious. But I have to be professional. I have to be respectful to the organization, to our executive director, the board, everybody who took their time to be there to listen to my report. And as I see the energies behind me, I had an intuitive hit. Deliver the report with a high frequency. You can still use all of the functional words. You can still use 90 days out. You can still use, have documentations not getting completed, so I can't bill on time. You can still report honesty, but do it with such a high frequency that those around us, around the table, can receive it in that way. And that was my first true example of my guides showing up to help me. And I still didn't at that time know it was my guides. I had to go back to my desk and go, what the hell was that? So having the humor also means you don't freak out. You don't panic. I said to somebody the other day when when we were talking about tapping into people's trauma and their hurts and all that, and she's like, "You just don't seem afraid." And I said, "I don't think I have the good sense to be afraid. I have such an explorative brain and a curious nature that I want to get in there. I want to help, but truth be told, I want to figure out the puzzle. I want to figure out what is A plus B equals C. I don't want to do algebra, but I want to figure out what that is within someone. And I want to do that because I want to help them raise their frequency, because the more people that are in alignment and raising frequency and trusting their intuition, the calmer this world is going to be. And the more we can lead with a combination of both, well, actually all three, our left brain, our right brain, and our soul brain, right? We can lead with all of those on board, because we can't just go to the empathic, heart wide open and never have consequences. That won't work either. We are human beings. So taking that into consideration, I realized, boy, the spirit world is just a bunch of goofballs, aren't they? So then I started working on that within myself, which was difficult for the stuff I was going through in life. I'm not saying this stuff is easy. I have never said it was easy. I will always stand by. It's meant to be fun and exploratory, and there's a training in order to get there. And that requires our permission and our desire to walk the walk, because it takes accountability, responsibility, but it also takes reducing fear and self-doubt and being open. You know, it's like going for a walk with a little kid. They want to look under every rock or every log to see what lives under there. So lightheartedness is a way to do that respectfully. Another story that comes to mind in trusting my intuition, but also using humor to guide those around me. When my late husband was leaving the hospital and coming home on hospice, granted, I was exhausted, I was tired, I was already grieving, but they asked me to sign a form that said he might pass on the way home. Well, I felt all of my guides come in and surround me, right, in support, and I felt angel wings come around me, and I'm still grateful for that and for the work I had done before that to feel that. But I stood in front of the paramedic who was going to be in the back of the ambulance with him, and I said, "He's going home on hospice to croak, and I have to sign a waiver that says he might croak on the way home." And he's like, "Yes, ma'am." Well, I laughed. And I said, "I'm absolutely going to sign this for you. I'm not losing my marbles." I said, "Do you see the humor in that? Like, come on. Can you see the humor in?" And that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you're in the practice of it, even events like that can be lighthearted and joyful. I knew this was what my husband wanted. I knew this is what we were going to have to do. Every one of us comes in and we go out. So having the humor, it shifts perspectives, and it makes those messages come in a way that can also be delivered in a kind way. And the message I heard was, he's going to make it home. It's fine. We're nowhere near him checking out. But I also said when they were leaving, I gave him a kiss. His blood pressure was like 300 over 120 or something like that. And I said, "Dude, you drove that mass bike so much." He used to work for a pharmaceutical company. I said, "If you want to croak on your favorite part of it, it's fine. Go." But of course not. He hung out for another, I think, week. It's all a little blurry. But that's the shift in perspective that can happen when you're able to access this right brain, or your soul brain, or your sage brain, as we call it in positive intelligence. It takes practice. This is not something that's going to come automatically, because again, as humans, we come in with the wiring to be fearful or to, be on the lookout for things. Okay. So just be aware that when you're participating in miserableness and in complaining and gossip and all of that stuff, that you're lowering your frequency. And that can actually help you to not participate in communication like that, is when others around you want to go there. If you're like, no, 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 I'm working on my connection with myself, with spirit, with my guides. I am not going to go to gossip. I am not going to go to fear mongering or anything like that. So you will get messages. I promise you. I promise you, you are already connecting with your guides. It's just not in an awake kind of conscious way yet. I promise you have gotten nudges from them and have listened even, whether you're a hearer, a seer, a feeler, a knower. It doesn't matter how it gets there. I promise you. If you are watching this far into the video, first of all, thank you, because that actually helps with the numbers and getting it seen and yada, yada, yada. But I'm just happy you're here and hearing this for yourself. I promise you. It just takes a little bit of connecting the dots. Okay. So I would like to encourage you to connect in with that playfulness, with that almost ridiculousness of this universe. Have you ever paused to think about things and how ridiculous is it? Like, just cat. Like, how ridiculous is that? It's adorable. And like, if the one who's taking a nap over here right now and snoring so loud isn't any indication, so full of personality. Like, there's amazingness in that. So get caught up in the wonder and in the awe and connect to that child self before the world came in and clouded that. Okay. And I'm going to take you through an exercise, like I said, that just a short one. So if you're driving, wait to do this. I know a lot of people listen to this while they're in motion, and that's great because the information when we're learning and moving, I think it gets in faster. It kind of sticks. But if you're driving, I want you to maybe hold off a little bit and do this later. Just listen, but don't participate. Because when we came in as souls, or as babies rather, and your soul is connected in there, we were already in this place of wild intuition. We were already super downloaded upon and ready to communicate in this way. So I'm not going to take us all the way back to birth because we need some consciousness, but I'm going to take you to a child. I'm going to give you a childhood visualization, even if it wasn't your experience. Please try to allow yourself to go there so that you can start to connect the dots within yourself of what it feels like to connect to that. And if you have the benefit of having little ones in your life, please, please get more connected to the wonder. So, okay, here we go. So let's take a moment to connect with our inner playful selves. I'd like you to find a comfortable position, whatever works for you, sitting, lying down, leaning back straight. It's up to you. And gently close your eyes, just a soft, soft closing. If that doesn't feel safe, it's okay to keep a soft gaze. It's fine. This works no matter how you do it. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax. Let's do another one of those. Deep breath in, breath out, and relax. Imagine yourself walking into a vibrant, colorful playground. The sun is shining. You can hear the joyful sounds of children laughing and playing. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin and the gentle breeze that carries the scent of fresh grass and flowers. Take a breath in and appreciate that. As you look around, you see swings, slides, a big bouncy activity castle. You see tunnels to explore. You see bars to hang from. Whatever is your joyful playground, it's here. The entire playground feels alive. It's got energy. It's got excitement. It's contagious in a way that lights you up inside. And just ahead of you, you notice a familiar figure. Doesn't that figure feel just like someone you know? It's you as a child, full of life and laughter. You did exist in that energy at one time. You did. So you walk over to this younger version of yourself and notice the sparkle that's in their eyes and the carefree smile that's on their face. Notice how effortlessly they play without a care in the world. Nice deep breath here. This is your inner playful self. Aren't they adorable? Always ready to bring joy and creativity and curiosity. Invite that energy over to yourself. Invite this being who lit up with every bit of effervescence you've ever seen. Let's take another breath. Good job. Now imagine merging with this playful version of yourself. Allow those two energies to merge together. Feel their lighthearted energy flow through you. Sense that, know that, however it gets through you. Well, it's filling you with a sense of fun and a little spontaneity. Let this playful energy expand within you. It's okay. You're safe. Allow it to touch every part of your being. This is your soul connecting with you. This is you connecting with you. So take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, get used to, and if you can, embrace this newfound sense of playfulness. Embrace the joy, the lightness that's there. This playful self, it's already within you. It's ready to bring lightness and laughter into your day. It's ready to be seen again and experienced and loved as that beautiful essence that you came into this world as. So when you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to your present moment. This is my favorite part. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you feel ready, open your eyes or listen to the rest of this podcast with your eyes closed. And remember, your inner playful self is always there. Sometimes it gets loaded up with the adult responsibilities. It's always there, ready to bring joy and creativity into your life. I really appreciate you joining me in this visualization, this feeling exercise. And I appreciate you wanting to connect to that part of you that is playful. It's really the fountain of youth because it comes from the youth of you. So when you're moving forward in your life and you're making time and creating time for that meditative practice, bring your humor in. Like, it doesn't have to be heavy as humans have led it to be. If you've ever listened to the Dalai Lama or seen him speak, and no, we're not going to participate in cancel culture when it comes to him. There's some stuff that went around that was a poor translation, and that's not okay. But look at his effervescence, or Desmond Tutu. Like their energy is so light, so playful, And I really believe because they have the connection of spirits moving through them and allowing that to be there. So I encourage you to lighten up your meditation sessions. Don't have it be so serious. Use fun imagery, or if you're someone who doesn't do visualizations, playful affirmations. Something that helps you remember that at your very essence, you're a goofball. Your soul's a goofball. It came here to help your human self learn how to be joyful. So on some level, I believe we have a responsibility to our soul to do this, to get playful. And I'm right there with you. I can get super serious about things and be in the how of things and forget about how it could feel rather than what needs to be done. So setting a playful intention, having humorous memes or GIFs that you send to friends, have a lightheartedness around whatever the responsibility is for the day, a trust that it'll be okay. I saw this meme the other day that I loved. It said, "You are bread dough. You will not rise if you do not rest." And I loved it so much. And I had this immediate cute picture of a blob of dough becoming bread because it was resting and it was allowing for the expansion and the humor to be there. And I loved whoever came up with that. It was brilliant. Of course, when I went back to try to find it, I couldn't find it again. So kudos to whoever created that. If you can create an environment in your world, there's laughter meditations on YouTube that you can tap into, playful journaling prompts. You can focus them towards your intuition. I allow myself to be playful when connecting to my intuitive self because I know my guides are a bunch of goofballs. There's your intention for this week. The benefits of being around people who are also humorous and lighthearted, because we have neurons and we mirror neurons. Of course we have neurons, but we have mirror neurons. And that's why sometimes it's not all empathic. It's simple biology that we will go lower or become more of a warrior in the presence of a warrior. So we need to be lighthearted and playful and still successful and accountable. And I would even say even more successful, because a lot of the coaching that I do is to help people lighten up about the process, because they'll be like, "Vicky, this is going on. Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And as a behind the scenes, I take a breath, I connect in with spirit, and I say, okay, help me to help them raise their frequency, because nothing is going to change in a low energy. It's just not going to. You can have a frustration, you can have an anger, you can have a knowing that something needs to be changed, and you can still come from a high frequency. And I would even suggest that you do that. So joining groups or being part of a playful environment, like one of the reasons I miss going to Soul's Fitness so much is they're a bunch of goofballs too. And it would make, no matter what we were doing, as painful as it might be in the moment, it would make it fun because they would crack a joke, or there would be some kind of gentle ribbon going on, not that mean coach kind of stuff, but gentle. And that helps you raise up enough to be able to hear the frequencies of spirit, because anything that's non-physical has a high frequency. How are you going to connect with that if you're not bringing a little bit of joy in however that works for you? It's not up to me to tell you what brings you joy. It's up to you. So I'm just going to encourage you to do this and be connected in a way that is less dramatic and more fun. And if you want some of that, you can follow me on social media, Vicky Baird Coaching. I keep the light there. There's suggestions, of course, for your own evolution and awareness and the planet's raising of frequency. But a lot of times there's some goofball posts too. And I invite you to come along, because I know that's the way to strong intuition. I just know that with everything that I am. And I want you to have that too. So your homework, go have fun. No, skedaddle. Goodbye. See you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com, and check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.